Stop.
Welcome back to MTGYou, the Magic the Gathering podcast for you. I'm James Bergout, and joining me today is sweet baby Michael. Michael Taylor. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Jamesy.
Also on the show today is Justin Blades. There can be only one. Hi, Justin.
Hey,
Blades.
Unfortunately, there can be more than one, but I'm most certainly the best.
You know what that was a reference to, right?
Highlander?
Yeah, Blade.
You're not going to go for the Blade Runner joke?
What one's that?
You're not going to run with that one?
No.
Time to die.
You lost me.
You gotta watch that one. It's a cool movie.
I've watched it. It's just that I can't remember it. I have this really short memory. I have twice as many movies to watch in the world because I don't remember them. So I can watch them again and be just as entertained. Don't tell me how Titanic ends. Okay. It's Saturday, the 19th of September, 2015, and we're coming to you from planet Earth. But our minds are on planet Zendikar. Yeah, I wrote that, and I didn't even remember I wrote that. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 68.
Upkeep.
Seriously, guys. I don't know what's going on up here. Announcements. We do have Community Cup happening today. It's early. It's like 8:55 in the morning in our time zone. We've been talking here, just chatting here for a while. And, yeah, I think we're getting set. But Community Cup is today. We were just talking about the promos, if we win and if we lose. First of all, Blades, if we lose, what do we get?
We get to drown in sorrow.
I know.
For all those who logged on, they get a non-promotional card, Drown of Sorrow, just fairly normal, fairly average. So
I know.
It's pretty sad.
It is really sad. Not alternate art, not foil, nothing special. Although I guess it's better than a stick in the eye. Drown in Sorrow isn't the worst card.
No, it's not the worst of all, but have you ever had a stick in the eye? It's underrated.
And Michael, if we win, what do we get?
We get a lot of cards. We get one of each of the full art unhinged lands, both foil and non-foil. And then we also get foil and non-foil version of Thalia with the new Steve Argyle art.
And that's the close-up art.
Yes, it's one of my favorite arts in Magic right now.
So all I can say is, and by the time you're listening to this, we will already know the results of this. So hopefully we won. Maybe we should record two of them. Yeah, and we won! Yeah, woo! And then there's the other one. Oh, man. Oh, that's all I get? Okay, so there we go.
That's really going to suck if you release the wrong one.
I'll just put both of them out there just so that both of them exist.
Download this one if we won.
Yeah.
Okay. Pre-release is next weekend. Oh, I was planning on going, but something came up. It's really... something cool came up, but I'm not going to make it. I'm sad.
That's too bad.
I know it. But I'll be doing something else fun, so I'll tell you about it another time. Oh, suspense. Don't you hate when people say stuff like that? I'm going to be doing something else, but you're not going to find out. Like when you're in a book, I'm reading a book, and then something is going to happen, and I'm going to tell you about that later. Oh, one of my pet peeves when I'm reading. Don't tell me that you're going to tell me something later. Just leave it out. What do you think?
Yeah.
Does that bug you guys?
Yeah, I guess a bit. I'm trying to think of an instance where I...
Well, now that I've mentioned it, when you do start reading it, it's going to start bugging you. You're going to be like, this is what he's talking about. It wouldn't bug you before, but now it will. So,
or the phrase, we'll talk about that later.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, we're talking about it right now.
Tell me now. If it's important now, it's important now. Otherwise, don't mention it.
I think we're just sidestepping the problem right now.
Yeah. Pre-release. You guys going?
I am.
Yes.
Man, I really want to go. I just have this other thing, so I'm going to this startup. Okay, I'll tell you. You worked it out of me. You twisted my arm. I'm going to a startup weekend, Salt Lake City, where people get together for like 3 days and just work really hard to create a startup. They program, design, and then they pitch the idea to a committee, and then they get judged based on their idea. So it's a really cool idea, but it doesn't relate to Magic. Unless I did something Magic related.
I don't know if you can get more people to be on that page.
You're right. Anyway.
Brad, you should be able to, but people are pretty lame.
Yeah, they are. Okay, anyway, enough about that. We're wasting time here. Looking forward to that. Maybe I'll have to try to pick up a starter or a kit and just play with James or find somebody. I don't know. Because I still want to play it. I just may not be able to do it on pre-release weekend. So, anyway.
Draw step.
In our draw step today, we're talking about the blight. Are they blighted lands or blight lands? What are we calling them?
Probably blighted lands.
Blighted lands. Tell me about these guys. Why do I care?
So they're colorless lands with a second ability for one of each of the base colors. So you got a blue, a black, a red, white, green. They only produce colorless, so Blighted Carteract. Tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. And then you can tap 5 and a blue, tap it, sack it to draw 2 extra cards. So they're like an extra spell in your lands.
Late in the game, perfect. Because you could use cards more than you need the land, probably.
Yeah, and that's a bad thing that you get out of lands, or out of spells, is that they just sit in your hand and they don't do anything. With these ones, you can play them early and they do something, but at a more premium cost, where Divination would be a blue, 2 and a blue, traditionally. You can pay 6 total with this and sack it, so it's sort of like a trade-off. You get a little bit more versatility out of this, and you can use this earlier than what a normal spell would be, but you get the long-term usefulness out of this.
Right. Any card that can give you multiple things to do with it is better than the alternative. So this is awesome. Your favorite then is the blue. I also kind of like the black. Sacrifice Blighted Fen. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. Maybe not quite as much as the blue, but that's still pretty cool.
No, I think that is absolutely relevant. It's going to be more dependent on what the format looks like.
Right.
If we have a bunch of control decks that just try to stick on one guy and just ride him to victory.
Right. This could really interrupt it.
Also, Dragon Lord Ojitai. People have been having an issue getting around him, and in a lot of decks that he's been played in, he's been one of the few only creatures in that. This seems to be pretty good against that. Mm-hmm. For 5 mana, 6 total with the Blighted land, that doesn't seem bad.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm not as thrilled about the red one. 2 damage, big deal. Thanks for throwing us a bone.
5 mana for 2 damage.
I know it. And your sacrifice.
Not so bad. I'd prefer a bolt, but 2 damage.
They could have at least given us a bolt.
It's like protection for mana flooding in your burn deck. I could see playing 2 of these in a mono red deck or something like that.
You're not a red mage, are you? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Actually, you actually do have some cred as a red mage, so I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I got the street cred, yo.
Then the white one is even probably less. I don't know. For each creature, it might be interesting because you get 2 life for each creature, and the cost to sacrifice it or to tap it and sack is not as high as the others.
My daughter's mono white deck. It's not uncommon for her to have like 6, 7 little 1/1s and 2 2s out there.
That could totally reset the game.
Yeah.
That's the one that's probably most wild on how it's going to be.
Yeah.
How good it's going to be.
It's either going to be great or terrible.
Absolutely. Like, if you do have the 6 creatures on board, you sack it. That's 12 life gain.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty huge.
Big.
Normally, life gain isn't good in any.
Right. I've been trying
format.
to convince James Jr. of that, and he's starting to understand. It's funny. Life gain is not good. Then he beats me.
In
And then
most
I'm like,
situations.
Yeah. And the final one, of course, is the green one, Blighted Woodlands. And you sacrifice Blighted Woodlands, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, and put them on the battlefield tapped and shuffle your library. So wait a second. You wait till, well, it's okay, it costs 4 to do that.
Technically 5, because you're tapping this land too.
Yeah.
And then you'd go, okay, I'm not buying it. Yeah, you're already at 5, and you have to go find 2 more.
Which
So
you're really
like
only gaining
ramp.
1.
So this one is definitely one that we need to take in context, where this is a set with Eldrazi and a lot of high casting stuff. So I think that this is going to be better than what it normally would be, especially in like a sealed or limited format. So that's something. Beyond that, like constructed wise, I think that we're really going to have to see something like Valakut to get this to see more play.
All right. Again, we have Blighted Cataract, Blighted Fen. Is that Blighted George? No, just kidding. Blighted Gorge, Blighted Steppe, and Blighted Woodland. Those are the cards. Anything else you guys want to say about these particular cards?
I think they're fairly versatile, and we can...
They're at uncommon. That's nice.
At uncommon for limited purposes, yes.
Yeah, I think there'd definitely be something if you're running that color, you'll want that in your limited deck.
Let's move along to
Main phase.
And today in our main phase, first we want to talk about the various mechanics. We just got the whole set spoiled yesterday. And we don't have the FAQ yet. We were waiting for that, thinking for sure it'd be out. But at least we know a little bit about these things. Returning is landfall, meaning when something when land comes down, something happens.
That's going to be dependent on the card variant.
So is this different than it was last time? Is that what you're saying?
No, not really. It's last time we had a lot of effects that like pumped creatures when the land entered the battlefield, but it was still fairly variant, and I think it's going to be roughly the same.
Do any of the Eldrazi have landfall?
I don't believe so.
You know, really quick, let's just talk about the different kind of cards, because that's one of the things that sort of is separating this set from others. It just seems like we have all these different kinds of cards to think about. One of them is, we have it listed here. Is it Devoid? It's actually Devoid is actually, it's one of our mechanics, so to speak. But it's actually a card type. Am I right, or is that incorrect?
Well, it's not the card type, but it just means that even if the card uses color, it's still colorless card or colorless creature.
Because the card, because you look at the card and they look different.
The borders are different. Yeah,
it has this
to help color identity wise.
Yeah, it kind of has this extended art feeling to it. I love this. The cards themselves look really cool.
It's part of the mechanic. They get better borders.
It just makes them that much better.
Yeah.
If only they had that in Alara.
Yeah. So we have Devoid cards. I really feel like I want to call these different cards because the borders are different. Borders seem to mean a lot in this game. I don't know why. I'm totally off on that, I know. But anyway. But what other kind of cards do we have? We also have the Zendikar Expeditions. These are coming into the packs.
Full art,
foil, mythic. Is that, mythic rare. Now, are they more common or are they less common than where are we going to be seeing these in packs?
They figure it's about 1 per case. You'll see an expedition.
Really? Wow, that's pretty rare.
That's right around where the math comes out. A case is 6 boxes.
Right. I mean, these are cool, but so if you draft these, if they come in a booster draft, you can use them. But are they standard legal?
No.
Okay.
They are draft legal and limited legal, but they are not standard legal. A case is roughly about a little bit more than 200 packs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're awesome cards. They're just, but it's not like we're going to be seeing many of them.
Yeah, very awesome.
No, they're going to come at a premium for sure.
I wonder what these things are going to be going for on the market.
Depending on which one it is, I think the lowest is like 150 from what they're speculated to be at.
Wow.
Yeah, I think some of them are up to 225.
Wow. And then, of course, we have the full art lands. Now, in the spoiler, we also see the alternate regular art lands. Why are they showing? Why do we have both?
Because in the pre-con decks and such, those are going to come with the regular looking lands. They are not going to be the full art.
Okay, so pre-con decks come with regular lands. Packs come with full art lands.
And the fat pack
and
land
fat packs
should be full art lands.
Okay.
We've seen this in old Zendikar, so it's not anything new or anything. I do think that some of those regular looking lands, just because they are probably going to be more rare, potentially, since not a whole lot of people buys the precons.
That's interesting, yeah.
That could be a thing, but it wasn't a thing before.
Mm-hmm. Are any of these lands reprints? They look. Some
yes,
of them look.
we have one from each color.
Okay, because they do look a little familiar. The one with the glass or the rock bowl floating that's tipping out water looks familiar. There's one of the forests I definitely recognize. Oh, that mountain I do too.
The Arch Mountain, yes.
Yeah, the Arch Mountain.
So traditionally, we only have 4 different artworks for each basic land in each respective set. This one we get 5 of each.
That is awesome.
So that's something a little bit more unique and something to look forward to. I think I like it for the full art lands.
And then we've already talked about the blighted lands, and then we also have these come in at the common block is the Sandstone Bridge, the Skyline Cascade, Mortuary Mire, Looming Spire, and Fertile Thicket. What are these?
I think they're referring to those as the actual spell lands.
What do they have in common here?
They each do like a spell-like ability when they enter play, and they enter play tapped.
Okay. And then we have the rare block. This is a type of a dual land.
Yes, these are what people were fighting about to be the Tango lands or the Who Cares lands.
Okay. And why is that?
Because they enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands.
Okay. All right. And that's across the board on those. Number of colorless cards. Number of colorless cards and also a number of gold bordered cards. That's what I meant to say. Not a lot, but there are a few gold bordered cards.
We get about 17, what I'm counting here. Gold border. A little bit more than that, around 20.
How do you guys feel about the Eldrazi cards themselves?
It's kind of hard to say. They're definitely more diversified than the old Eldrazi, where they were all just... They all seem just large, big spells in the last set, Rise of the Eldrazi. This one, they seem like they got definitely more. The drones are definitely more cheaper to play. I don't know how that's going to come into play here, but it's hard to say. I think that this is a hard set to scale wise. I don't think we've seen a whole lot like this. And even if we look money-wise, cost-wise, traditionally we have a bunch of cards that are pre-selling for like a bit more of a higher premium, like up to $40 or such. This one, the highest that we get is like at $25.
I think part of that is because Star City Games is trying to start off at a more reasonable level At least that's what they said in some of their articles. The guy that does their pricing is like, you know what, I'm trying to hit these as close as I can to begin with, because I know that they just come down, and so hopefully there's going to be 10 to 15% of the cards that go up, and there's going to be 50% that come down. And that's just the way it works.
Okay, that explains, because that's where I'm looking at right now, and there's not a whole lot of money in this set from what it looks like, even at the from $10 to $20 range.
Right.
I think it'll only a few.
We'll find them. They'll pop out of here, and we'll find out what they are. But we don't know until because there's lots of good cards always, but only some of them find decks. So
yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that this, I don't know how to gauge this. There's a lot of areas in here that I don't know where to put them, like what category. Like there's probably, I don't think this is a good set to invest in, but it might be a good gambling risk.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So have we covered landfall enough? Does everyone know pretty much what landfall is? Do we need?
Yeah,
to
it's a
that?
return mechanic.
Yeah. Let's talk about awaken. Awaken N. So there's going to be basically awaken and a number after it, and then what happens? Michael, go ahead. Yeah.
This is just kind of like an added on to a spell. So you can, like for example, they have. Let me pull some up here. When you cast the spell, you can either cast it for its regular cost or its awaken cost. And then it just adds, basically get an extra creature out of it. So, where is that?
And it ties back to the whole story of Zendikar, that the land is awakening, or it can be utilized as a creature as well. So when something comes down, you can turn a land into something using this mechanic.
Yeah, so like right here we've got Clutch of Currents. It's a blue to return a creature to its owner's hand. Or if you want to pay for its awaken cost, which is 4 and a blue, you also get 3 1/1 counters on target land, and it becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste.
Yep.
So if you had a way of removing those counters, you could kill it?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would destroy the land as well.
Yeah, so before in Zendikar, we had multi-kicker.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a little bit flavorly from that, to where you could pay an extra premium. Since it is the land set, you can use all this extra lands that you're probably playing, all these spell lands and whatnot, to utilize that and put them into work with this Awaken. That seems pretty good. Also, with the Awaken, you can target a already animated land to put more counters on it and make it potentially bigger.
That's really flavorful. I love that. You can kind of visualize how that would work then.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be basic lands. It could be any land. Is that right?
Any land. Yeah, so...
Which is one of the things. You can do like the black-white manland, sort of down on that one last week. But one of the things that you can do for it is you can awaken on top of that, and then make it a whatever guy, and then you pay its 3 cost price to make it a 2/3 lifelink, but you still get those +1/+1 counters. So that could be potentially good for the lifelink aspect of it. So they probably did have to keep it at a low number to make it reasonable with that mechanic in this set.
How do you feel about this mechanic in general?
I think it's good. I think it's definitely welcomed. Especially, I'm super excited about the new counterspell and cancel that they got with Awaken in this new set, which is Scatter to the Winds, which is cancel mana, colorless blue. Counter target spell, Awaken 3 for 4 blue. So you get a guy for 6. That doesn't seem bad in a
you counter
control
a spell, and then you get a guy. Yep.
Yeah, where we've already seen that they are trying to do counterspells at 3 converted mana cost. So that's not unwelcome, and it's just a normal counterspell. But the Awaken clause on it, that seems potentially something you can do in the late game, and I'm quite fond of it. I think this is probably better than Scry 1.
Another nice thing to note about it is that it gives the land haste. So even if that land came into the battlefield this turn, you can still use it as a creature.
Yep.
What about Converge? Count the different colors of mana used to cast the spell. Tell me about Converge. Let me find an example card of that one. Give me an example card.
Radiant Flames.
Is that,
2 in a red, sorcery, Converge. Radiant Flames deals X damage to target creature, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast Radiant Flames. So it's pretty much Sunburst in like spell form.
So this could cast up to, or this could deal up to 3 damage.
Yep. So you can't pay excessive amounts.
Right.
So you can't pay 4 mana into this 3 converted mana cost spell and expect to get a X of 4 out of it.
Mm-hmm. But it would be at least a 3 for 3. 3 damage. But it's also to each creature.
Yep.
Correct.
So that's interesting. So you could pick off a bunch of 3 toughness creatures. That's not something you see all the time.
No, but I think that's actually pretty good. Majority of the decks that we're going to see is probably 3 color. Mm-hmm. Especially we're coming from Khan's block, where they had a bit of 3 color in their Khans of Tarkir set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to see more than that. So you might see 4 or 5 every once in a while, but
typically not. Yeah,
I think Converges we're typically going to see for 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next is Devoid. Tell me, why do I care about Devoid?
They actually have a lot of mechanics that, or a lot of cards, not mechanics, a lot of cards that do affect colorless creatures. Like it'll say, let's see, it was one of the ones early spoiled on where you could pay a colorless and target colorless creature gains haste until end of turn. And so that could be, any of these other cards that took colored mana to cast, but it's still a colorless creature.
Flavor-wise, how does this work? What's going on here? So why does it take colored mana to cast a colorless creature?
It's resembling how the Eldrazi are consuming the color and leaving pretty much nothing in its wake.
I got it. Last night I was reading some of the storyline, and it was talking about how after an Eldrazi consumes something, whether it's a creature or a plant life, there's like a chalky whiteness or just basically a blight that's just like nothing's there anymore, and nothing will grow there anymore. Flavor-wise, if you're casting a red, it represents an Eldrazi that's taking something from a mountain and leaving nothing there. I take it.
Yes, and that's why on the art,
mm-hmm.
when you see it, like you'll see the color identity at the top,
right?
But then as you slide down the card,
it kind of loses color.
It loses its color and just goes into
very good
art.
I love it. Nice. This is a set that I just love for the art. I mean, I think I would like to just have a set of this just in a binder to just stare at.
Or you could just buy the book.
That's right.
Oh, yes, the book. But is all this going to be in the book? I don't know.
I think it's going to have excessive amounts.
Yeah, that's nice.
244 pages of art, so...
Yeah, that's going to be nice. Okay, so that's what Devoid is for. It's not necessarily a mechanic. Maybe you could call it a mechanic. I don't know. Maybe you can. But it's a keyword, or it's an aspect of the card that makes it available for other mechanics to work on it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so.
It's giving an ability to a card, if we can call it that. It's giving it an ability that makes it so that it works in given situations where other cards that don't have that wouldn't work.
One thing I kind of find funny about it, though, is if you think about it, Ugin's ultimate cannot kill Eldrazi.
Nope.
What's his ultimate?
Exile each permanent or each non-land permanent X or less that has one or more colors. So it can't kill anything that's colorless, and all the Eldrazi, even if they use colored mana, are all colorless.
Does Ugin and Eldrazi have overlap anywhere in the mythology
Yes.
of...
Ugin is one of the original 3 planeswalkers that trapped the Eldrazi.
Oh. Okay.
Hence why we had the Eye of Ugin in Worldwake.
Huh. Ingest. Now, it's interesting because Sam Stoddard, in his article that just came out, and we talked about this a little bit, his article, Developing New Mechanics in a Returning World, talks about digest/process. Evidently, this is referring to ingest, right?
I should hope so, yes.
Why says process? There are processors.
That's kind of the cycle of the Eldrazi. You've got the ingesters, and then the processors that I guess are kind of the butt end of the Eldrazi, and they just get rid of what they ingested.
I get the feeling that he wrote this article before they changed it to ingest from digest. It says early versions of digest didn't, quote, process the card exactly. They just counted the number of cards in the exile to generate an effect. Anyway, it's ingest, not digest. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. And then, of course, we have ways of interacting with the exile zone, too, now. We have more than one. We talked about one way. Was it last week or the week before?
I believe it was the week before when we were talking about the processors.
Mm-hmm. But there's more than one way now. There's more than one card that actually deals with the exile zone.
It looks like it's a whole mechanically driven group of creatures for the Eldrazi. It looks like some exile them and then others utilize them, like you were saying.
Process. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I think that's a little bit odd. I don't know if that's going to be good or not.
Wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a little bit rough to get them exiled, because for a lot of the creatures here, whenever they hit the guy or hit your opponent, they then exile the top card. I don't know how sufficient that's going to be to help you utilize your other guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully it'll give us some things to talk about.
Yeah.
Any cards that stand out on the ingest front?
Not really on the ingest front, because that's pretty basic.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's all it does. But like on the processors, like you've got the one I'm looking at right now. It's Cryptic Cruiser, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 creature Eldrazi processor, devoid. 2 and a blue. Put a card an opponent owns from exile into that player's graveyard to tap a target creature. So it's like your ingest creatures are setting up the abilities of your larger Eldrazi to be able to process those exiled cards to have added effect.
And the fact that it goes in the graveyard could possibly have a benefit to the allies, I assume.
Yeah, because, we also have Delve.
Right.
Can activate some Delve cards as well.
Yeah, I think Delve is really the one that's potentially going to utilize more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually hurt them as well, because if they're delving away, exiling their cards, then it's going to make your processors more universally playable.
There's an interesting synergy going on here. They're kind of playing against each other. They're using each other at the same time. They can utilize each other, but it's at the detriment of potentially helping the other person out.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a good time to put this into play. We'll see here in a few years down the road or something when the delve mechanic rotates, how good that's going to be. But
Rally. What do you think about Rally?
they had this in old Zendikar except it wasn't keyworded. They just had it as whenever this hero or this ally came into play or another ally, it triggers the special ability. It seems like they just keyworded it. So sort of gave it a slight shortcut, but as soon as you already knew what all the triggers were for each respective ally was anyway, I believe it's roughly the same.
Yeah, the only difference is in old Zendikar, the ability for to enter the battlefield only affected other allies, where this one affects all creatures, and that's really the only difference.
Any cards that stand out in this one for you?
Not really. They before they were all your creatures were hopefully allies anyway. So this it all does roughly the same. It just gives you more targets for the ally mechanic. So it's not. I'm looking at it as a return mechanic.
I see.
That's kind of how I see it too.
Yeah, I feel the same, I think. This is the first one I came upon here. Core Blade Whirl, 1 and a white for a 2/2 uncommon creature, core soldier ally. Rally. When core Blade Whirl or another ally enters the battlefield under your control, creatures you control gain first strike until end of turn. What mechanic are you most interested in? Which mechanic are you least impressed by?
I think as a whole, like Awaken is probably the one. Awaken or Landfall returning are ones that I'm excited for most. I'm not really excited about Converge, Ingest and Processors. I don't know about that one. Like that's either going to be pretty good or pretty unplayable. I'm on the fence about it. Devoid is meh. It's just sort of lackluster.
Where does Rally fall in that for you?
I was an ally player back in the day, mostly because it was cheap, and I didn't have a whole lot of money back when Zendikar was quite prominent. So I'm more excited to see that coming. I'm probably coming back at least. I'm probably not going to be playing it, but I'm probably going to dislike to see it across the table.
Oh, I see. Michael, where do you fall on this?
Probably the one I'm most excited for is probably Awaken. I just hope it's not too overcosted. I didn't play an old Zendikar, but I feel like a lot of what we're going to be doing, we're going to be having a lot of extra land anyway, so this allows you to utilize it. That going with it is Landfall, because with a lot of land, you're going to use that a bit. But the rest of them are just, I guess, we'll see. I think Rally, it's just too easy to disrupt. It's kind of like Heroic. They go to target their creature, you're like, okay, kill your creature.
Right.
What are you going to do now? Same with Rally. Once you get rid of one of their allies, it just makes their deck that much worse. Devoid and Ingest, we'll see. Those are definitely ones you're going to have to just dedicate your deck to. And then Converge is, like Blade said, we'll probably see about 3-color decks. So that could be just something that can add bonus here and there, but it's nothing really exciting to me.
I don't see it gaining value. Mostly we're going to see it in 3-color decks, and I don't think that that's going to give us enough to make it more than just like an average spell.
Yeah, it seems like 3 colors is where it becomes average. So unless you're playing the 5-color Converge deck, you're not going to get a whole bunch of extra value out of those cards.
Which I just don't see a mana base to help support a 5-color deck.
Yep.
But with back to Awaken, one of the things that I like so much about this is that it adds the quandary of, do you cast it for its cheap mana cost and get value now, or do you wait for its premium mana cost? And it's about the weighing of the scales of, do I need to use this now or can I wait for later?
But one of the best things about that is the choice. And that's what adds value to Magic, is when you have choice.
This definitely adds in a bit of that in all formats. I think that's gonna prove to be quite problematic for a bunch of players and quite skill intensive, and I really enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. What about our new Planeswalkers? What do you think about them? Any that which one are you most interested in? Any of them that you think are just lackluster? What do you think?
I want to do something with Kiora, but I'm not sure. I don't think that she's going to be worth it entirely, where she is +1 to untap up to 1 target creature and up to 1 target land. That feels quite a bit like Ral Zarek. Mm-hmm. And when Ral Zarek first got spoiled, he was roughly around the price range of $20, and then he did nothing. Mm-hmm. So she does feel quite a bit Ral Zarek to me. Her -2 reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put a creature card and /or land card from among them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. That could be good with Delve, but Delve wants cheaper enablers than 4 mana cost. So that's maybe her ultimate -8, but it's like a game ender. I think that's meh. That's I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of that. So I don't think that she's going to see a whole lot of play. Like, I want to do something with her, but her +1 ability is not enough. Mm-hmm. I just see her to have the same issue that Ralzarek did, where she's almost exactly like him. Her +1 ability is almost exactly like him. Her -2, I think Ralzarek had a -2, where his was just a bolt something. That was pretty good, but it didn't see a whole lot of play, and they both started off with loyalty of 4, so you could do their -2 twice. He didn't see much play in his respective format, and their negatives are both almost out of range, but when you do get a cast them, it could be problematically game-ending. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to see too much play from her. But Obnixilis, I'm not too excited about, just because I think he's fairly vanilla. He doesn't do anything that's too out of the realm. He's just like meh. Gideon, though, I think that he's probably going to see a lot of play, where he becomes a guy and what does he do on his negative? Oh, he makes creatures. He makes creatures to block him, and at only 4 mana cost.
You can do when you put him down, you can actually, you'd have to do his +1 the first time, and then on the second time you can do his negative ability, his ultimate.
Yeah, I think that Gideon has potential to be the most expensive, just because the decks that are going to play him are probably going to want 4 of him, 3 or 4 of him, because you can just negative him and get the Anthem effect right away. True. I think that Gideon is probably one of the better ones.
The one I'm most excited for is actually Obnixilis.
Mm-hmm. I actually like him too.
The way I see him is the kind of deck that's going to want him is his abilities are straightforward, but it's exactly what
Rakdos,
you want.
It's a beatdown all the way. Let me just end you as fast as I can. Am I right?
I don't think that's what Obnixilis is all about, but
nope.
You can try it. But the way I see it is his +1, draw a card, lose a life, so card advantage.
Uh-huh.
-3, destroy target creature. He's protecting himself and giving you card advantage. And -8, which is only 3 turns away. Target opponent gets an emblem with whenever a player draws a card, you lose 2 life. And that just adds inevitability. That they can't get rid of it. That pretty much just says, as long as I survive, you die. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So I think he will... I definitely think that Gideon will probably be the most popular one, just because you can cast him, ult him right away, and so having multiple in your deck, you're going to want 4 of them if you're running him. Mm-hmm. But
Obnixilis you probably want around 2.
Yeah, you don't want a whole lot of him, because the second one you draw of him is really just useless cards in your hand.
Right. So what about this card? This Demon's Grasp, 4 and a black sorcery. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. We haven't seen very many of these of this particular, destroy target creature type card. I mean, not for -5/-5. Am I right or am I off base here?
I think you're a little bit off base, actually.
Really? I mean, see some. What's Drown in Sorrow?
That's all creatures get -2/-2.
Okay.
Well, we did have like Lash the Whip and what was that other one? Throttle.
Yeah.
They both did the -4/-4.
But is the extra one on this going to make a difference?
I think so.
That's kind of my gut feeling. And by the way, I think that's Ob Nixilis's hand.
Yeah.
In that picture, that's what made me think of this.
Yeah.
Plus,
at
it's called
first I thought
Demon's
that was
Grasp.
Soren that he was choking.
Yeah,
But then
I know.
I was like, well, that's not a good situation. And then I think it's just a core.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's just Monocore removal. Like,
It's expensive, so that's probably the
and at sorceress speed.
true.
Yeah.
But where you're having bigger creatures like the Eldrazi, you need something like that too, a little bit bigger removal to try to help. I don't know if 5's enough though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Well, it looks like a lot of the mediocre Eldrazi are around 5 toughness
Right.
or less.
For any bigger Eldrazi, you'd have to be at instant speed to get like a combat trick through with it.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Any other cards that you're just interested in this set? We've talked about a few as we've gone through the mechanics here.
One card I also kind of like is Altar's Reap, 1 and a black for an instant. As an additional cost, cast Altar's Reap, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. With having like Eldrazi spawn in here, I think being able to draw 2 cards at instant speed, or especially being at instant speed, if you're going to lose a creature anyway, you might as well get 2 cards out of them.
All right. And I like Altar's Reap's that's a reprint. This is just new artwork, right?
Yeah.
But I've used this before as well. I think I used this in my Pack Rat deck. I loved it because I could, sacrifice a rat and be able to hopefully get down to the cards that I needed. So yeah, I've enjoyed this card. Except, like I say, new artwork, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing a whole lot that excites me a whole lot. Sire of Stagnation seems fine.
What color?
Blue, black, 4, devoid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player exiles the top 2 cards of his or her library, and you draw 2 cards. 5/7. So that's like a control style deck, to where, especially if you can keep them off of land somehow. I don't know how you're going to do it in this set, but then just resolve this guy, and then if they want to advance their board into more of a later game, they're going to have to pay the premium, and that could be potentially good for you. Not sold on it, though.
That's a pretty good sized creature for 6, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Probably C plus-ish, right?
Yeah.
One card that I want to see how it works. It's kind of got my brain wheels turning. Is Noyan Dar, Royal Shaper.
I was just going to talk about him, yes.
3 white-blue. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may put 3 1/1 counters on target land you control. If you do, that land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste that's still a land. I'm actually thinking about trying to do a Jeskai Ascendancy combo with this guy.
Yeah, and where he's a 4/4 creature for 5. That doesn't seem that's like vanilla-wise, that's fairly moderate for 5. But he's also hard to kill through red base effects. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think he's actually pretty good. I think with what did we have? What's the guy from the core set?
Which one?
Core set's a while ago, where whenever you cast a spell, you get a 2/2 guy, or like a young pyromancer style. It's like a later game to where you do cast him in the later game, and then you just overwhelm your opponent with the lands. Talrand.
Talrand?
I think I like that quite a bit. Skyrider Elf for like a limited format. That seems pretty good. Like that's probably one of the best converge cards, unfortunately. Enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 count on it for each color mana spent to cast it. So you can pay a blue and a green for just a 2/2 flyer. That's not bad. Or you can do more for that to get it to be a 3/3 flyer or more. So I don't think that's bad.
Good. Any other cards that you're interested in talking about?
Just the dual lands, the new dual lands. Cindergale, Canopy, Vista.
Did I not talk about those to begin with?
I think we did, but just where we have fetch lands right now, our mana base is actually probably going to be pretty good right now. So that actually makes Converge slightly better than what I was thinking before.
Yeah, because I think it'll be really good to add, like if you're running like a white-blue, you're really not losing anything if you wanted to splash black or green. Because you just throw in a couple of those, you can still fetch them up with your fetch lands. And I know I've heard a lot of talk lately about decks running more fetch lands than they do like useful lands. Because you can just, for turn 1, turn 2, fetch up your 2 basics. And then after that, the rest of your mana base is almost all of the dual lands.
Yeah, you got the legacy dual lands.
Yeah, so it's no drawback to fetching those up, and they come in untapped, and the rest of your deck can be those.
I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest things to come out of this set, is mixed with the fetch lands from the set before. Now we have really good mana bases.
So those went up a grade for you just now. Is that what you're saying? These Tangle lands, is that what we're talking about?
I think they're going to vary for the next year. I think these Tangle lands are going to be they're going to be pretty chased for this next year. But after fetch lands fall out, they're going to drop as well. They're going to drop quite a bit. Mm-hmm. They're going to become, I'm not going to say unplayable, but they're going to become a whole lot less playable.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Michael? Any other cards you want to bring up before we skedaddle to our next step?
No, all the rest of the cards, I'm more interested in the art than the card itself. So
yeah,
they are pretty nice. I mean, just looking at Eldrazi they're interesting to look at, and of course, seeing all the core things come back and all the other Zendikar things come back is great. So, all right, well, let's move along.
Combat phase.
What happened this week?
For me, not a whole lot. I've been coming up with a little bit more modern. We had a modern GP in Oklahoma this past week, and I've been looking for something to do more with Goyf and everything, and I thought that Abbott was playable in modern. I just didn't know where, and Patrick Chapin came up with a list that I'm actually quite interested in, and I put it together. So I'm pretty excited to start playing that here within the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. I'm also looking into Esper. I think that could be. I think that might go a little bit underlooked right now. I feel like that could be a outlet to go, but I'm like 75% through the list right now. I just need to make a lot of final cuts and get a few of the numbers in, and then hopefully I'll have that up and going too.
What's ever happened to your red deck that you were playing for a while ago for the one that you took to second place? Are you still playing that one at all?
Whenever I play standard, yeah, mostly because I don't want to build another standard deck. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's probably the way to go in standard right now, but it's what I know, so that's what I've been playing, and that's what I've had built.
I see.
So, hasn't been doing bad though. I've still been doing pretty good at F&Ms with it, but...
Mm-hmm. Michael, how about you? What you been up to?
Not a whole lot. This week, I finished putting together I guess just getting ready for the new standard to rotate and just kind of get all my Theros and M15 cards out of my standard boxes, and I guess just getting ready for what's coming up. It's about it Magic wise.
What, did I mention last week that I took third in an 8-man draft on Hex?
I think you did, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just have to bring that up again.
I will say, I read the article you put up about Hex versus MTGO, so it piqued my interest. I did try it.
Okay.
So after trying it, I guess you could say I played Magic because it's pretty close.
Okay, it is pretty close, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
there are a few things that I did like about it that obviously Magic can't do.
Right.
You bring this up in your article mostly because it's only in a digital thing, but
yeah, they are two different beasts.
Yeah.
Because Magic has to duplicate its paper counterpart. Hex doesn't have that constraint, and so it's able to do things that Magic is not able to do, which I have to say, I mean, as far as Magic goes, God bless them. I'm glad that they're there and they're trying to make a digital product that matches a paper product and trying to make it consistent. But the fact that there's the alternative of being able to go an entirely Magic or digital route and be able to do things with that don't exist in other spheres just opens up possibilities that Magic just can't do. So I'm glad both exist. If you haven't read my article, I was going to talk about this in the next phase, so I guess we could actually just move along here.
Second main phase.
If you haven't read my article, go to the website and read the article about... I finally wrote it about Hex versus MTG. I say right in there, I'm not trying to say that Hex is better in that you should give up Magic, because that's not my intention at all. I'm using Hex as a springboard to try to become better at Magic. I want to support Magic. I love Hex. I want to support it too. But I'm using both of them, and I enjoy both of them. But I think, I don't know, Michael, what was your takeaway from the article?
Well, I will say that you do straight up say that you think Hex is better.
I do. No question about it. Because, let's face it, MTGO, they've had years and years and years to do this, and let's face it, they screw up a lot of times.
Yeah, I think just reading the article, what I got from it was it definitely explains, I guess, why you keep bringing it up. But there are definitely things that Hex can do that Magic cannot. One of the things that I thought was interesting in the game when I played it was that one of the abilities that they have is that you can transfer abilities from one card to another.
Yeah, and in the physical game,
it sticks to that card.
Right.
When it goes to your graveyard, it's still on that card. So
that's a mechanic that is impossible in Magic. So that's a mechanic they could never duplicate in Magic, because you can't actually transfer an ability from one card to another, because it just doesn't work in the physical world.
Yeah.
But guess what? In the digital world, it's simple.
I mean, reading the article, it got me enough to want to at least download it, check it out, try it. I did. I probably will still play it. In my opinion, I think Magic is a little better.
Do you think that... okay, so, I mean, you could be honest with me. Do you feel like I was a little too harsh on Magic's interface? And
it did seem a little biased.
Did it? And that's fine. That's fine.
But it's like, it's your article, it's your opinion, that's fine.
Yeah. I've just always felt really intimidated by it, and I'm sure that once I finally get into the point where I can just bite the bullet, and you read the part in the Magic about walking through the city.
Yes.
Anyway, you'll have to read that. That's a little teaser for you guys out there that are listening to this. It makes you go want to read the article. See, does that make you want to read the article, Blades?
I'm actually looking at it right now.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, am I biased? Yeah, I probably am. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep trying. That doesn't mean I'm not eventually going to come around and feel like I can actually compete on a realistic level on Magic. Right now, I just don't feel like that. So, anyway. Okay, email feedback and iTunes reviews. If you have anything, please send it to us. Contests, I say that every week, and I don't know why I keep repeating it. I'm going to do something soon. Poll of the week. We're going to put up a new one. How do you like to win at Magic? A, beat down. B, mid-range. C, control. D, combo. Or there'll be an E, flip the table. I don't know. You can put whatever you want in the...
Any way I can.
Yeah, you can put it. You can add in there. Anyway, go check out the poll of the week. That will be up here soon. And that's all I can think of this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to say to our wonderful special listeners?
Keep being special.
Okay. How about you, Michael? Any words of advice?
Nope.
Okay. Well, if I could just say one thing. Never use a big word when a diminutive one will suffice.
I don't know if I endorse that.
And here goes.
End step.
If you like the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you don't like the show, feel free to contact us directly. Email us at mtgyoupodcast@gmail.com. We have other content on the website beside the podcast, so go check out the website at mtgyu.com. Subscribe and like us on YouTube. You can find us at youtube.com/mtgyu. Follow us on Twitter at the MTGYou. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgyu. You can also find us on Stitcher. So for the MTGYou podcast,
I'm Blades.
I'm Michael.
And I'm James. Now we pass the turn to you. What do you think? What